As Chancellor of the University, I declare this congregation open for the conferring of degrees by the authority of the Senate and Council.
As Vice-Chancellor, I am delighted to welcome you all to this degree congregation. In particular, I would like to welcome the Chairman of Leicestershire County Council, civic guests, parents, friends and graduates of the University. It is a celebration for all those who graduate today. We celebrate your many achievements that culminate in the award of a degree from a major international research and teaching-led university. While you have been with us, the university has developed and changed. We are now a community of 18,500 students and 3,000 staff with a turnover of £167 million. It all demonstrates that universities are complex organisations. They are businesses with higher education at their heart. In these circumstances, higher education has become a topic of interest to the media, who regularly evaluate our work. In the last year, we have appeared in a range of league tables. Last August, we were placed in the top 20 research-intensive universities based on data produced by the University of Cambridge. We were one of only 17 UK universities to appear in the top 200 universities and the top 500 universities in the world, and we were placed 151st in the latter of those tables. Meanwhile, this May, we were placed in 24th position in the Times League table, rising 5 places on our previous record. Certainly, our position has improved while you have been here, and we plan to go even higher. Indeed, think of it like this: the higher we are placed, the greater the perceived value of your degree from the University of Leicester. But what contributes to our league table position? First, I would argue the development of our teaching. This year, Leicester has been awarded 3 Centres of Excellence in Teaching and Learning in a national competition: in genetics education, in geography and in physics. This makes us one of only 16 universities awarded more than one of these innovative centres. Subject reviews that have been conducted by external groups has resulted in 14 consecutive marks of excellent. This was matched only by one other UK university. And finally, national teaching fellowships have been awarded to our staff. Last year to Dr. Derek Rain in our physics department, and this year to Dr. Chris Willits in biochemistry. We are very proud of their achievements. Secondly, in research, we have been identified as a leader in the field. In the arts faculty, Professor Gordon Campbell has led an AHRC-funded study of Milton, which is shortly to be published by Oxford University Press, and will lead on to a 12-volume edition of Milton. In history, Professor Chris Dyer and his colleagues in English local history are engaged in a study of medieval settlements and landscapes in the Whittlewood area, supported by the Queen's University of Belfast and the University of Exeter, in partnership with Buckinghamshire and Northamptonshire County Councils, another very strong piece of research work in the Faculty of Arts. Meanwhile, in the Faculty of Social Sciences, Panikos Dimitriades in the Department of Economics is leading an Economic and Social Research Council-funded project on financial liberalisation and third world debt, demonstrating the relevance of social science to contemporary issues at the very heart of policy debates. In turn, we have also developed high-quality facilities for staff and students. The Henry Wellcome Building for Biomedical Sciences provides a £22 million state-of-the-art facility for biological scientists. The Space Science and Mathematical Modelling building was also opened this year and named in honour of our Chancellor, Sir Michael Atiyah. Finally, among new developments, our work on the University Library project, an essential part of the research and teaching infrastructure that constitutes a £28 million project for everyone on the campus. In addition, we are also building a new student hall of residence in Oadby with 581 study bedrooms that will be available to new students in September 2006. It is all these facilities that enhance the student experience in the University of Leicester. In turn, this university also makes a significant contribution to the community, and this comes in many forms. First, Contact, a student volunteer organisation that some of you have belonged to, and which the President of the Student Union always describes as the Vice-Chancellor's favourite society, has seen over 500 students volunteering this year to help with right-to-read schemes, holidays for disabled children, work in adventure playgrounds. Conducting this work and creating these facilities empowers the people for whom they are for. It changes their lives, and they will never forget you. Our Arts Week connects with those engaged in dance, drama and music, where many links are made with local schools through the school's arts exhibition staged in the university. Our Centre for Disability and the Arts, named after Lord Richard Attenborough, promotes dance, music and the visual arts through classes and public performances by international artists. And finally, our International Sculpture Show in the Botanic Gardens opened last Friday and highlights once again the university's contribution to the arts. The exhibition celebrates the centenary of the Royal British Society of Sculptors. The exhibits are expensive, but viewing is free. I do strongly recommend among the degree ceremony celebrations that you go along and have a look at the Botanic Gardens and the Sculpture Show. But in order to deliver all these projects, we need to constantly plan and build new facilities and raise funds for them. This year, we have raised over £3 million to commence work on a cardiovascular research institute that will be located on the Glenfield Hospital site. And as I have indicated, we will also be working on the University Library project over the next 2 years. Now, if you are sat there this afternoon having fond memories of working in the University Library, or indeed if parents have fond memories of thinking about you working in the University Library, and if you're at an idle moment and you're flicking through the programme, just turn to the back page, which gives you an opportunity to sponsor a University Library chair. And so do feel free to fill in the brochure while we're graduating students. We will be delighted for this to happen. Our work never stops. We are creating plans for new research, new teaching programmes and new community links. We do this by developing our contribution to the arts through links we have established with local artists, by developing new research in medicine, genetics, forensic science, history, English, and across the social sciences. New teaching programmes and new appointments have been made in film, the media, and chemistry. And new exhibitions are planned and new performances in the Richard Attenborough Centre. The list is endless and demonstrates we are a dynamic university. Finally, I would like to congratulate you all on the degrees you have obtained. We hope you will keep in touch with the university, and I shall look forward to meeting you at alumni events. But before I close, I would like to tell you about a little competition that I run during the degree ceremonies every year. And this is which faculty can applaud loudest and longest throughout the ceremony. Now, I can tell you, last year it came to a very close run thing. Arts and social science combined, nearly but only nearly beat the Faculty of Medicine and Biological Sciences. Now, I'm sure you'd like to guarantee that we remember that you are a really lively faculty, two faculties, and that you will be happy to join with me in showing your appreciation to your parents, relatives, friends and sponsors who have supported you through the university. So I would now ask the graduating class of 2005 to join with me in a round of applause for all those people. That's excellent and gets us off to a very good series of graduation ceremonies this year. Have an enjoyable day, applaud your fellow students, and all good wishes to you in your future careers.
There was a time when England owned the English language, and English literature was the literature written in England. That time has long gone because English is now a world language, and most of the finest writing in English originates in countries far from England, notably in India. There are more speakers of English in India than there are in England, and many of the most important writers in English are Indian. Vikram Seth is numbered among the finest of those writers, and of his generation, he is beyond reasonable doubt the greatest. Vikram Seth is a native of Calcutta. The literary and intellectual life of Calcutta is unique and is distinguished from that of other literary cultures in India by its cosmopolitanism and by its affinity with English literature. Cosmopolitanism is central to Vikram Seth's work. Consider his narratives. His first novel, The Golden Gate, is written in the voice of a California poet and has indeed been praised by Gore Vidal as the great California novel. His most ambitious novel, A Suitable Boy, has the authorial voice of an Indian. His late 90s novel, An Equal Music, has the narratorial voice of an Englishman. Where did it all begin? Vikram Seth's father was an executive in the Bata Shoe Company, and his mother a High Court judge. Those facts may tell us something about the extraordinary knowledge of shoe manufacturing in A Suitable Boy, and about the character of Justice Chatterjee. He was educated at the Doon School, India's greatest school, the school that has produced two prime ministers, VP Singh and Rajiv Gandhi, and two great novelists, the other being Amitav Ghosh. After the Doon School came Oxford, where Vikram Seth read the course known as PPE, Philosophy, Politics and Economics. And after Oxford, he went to Stanford with a view to taking a PhD in economics. He chose to write on a Chinese topic, and in pursuit of data for this never-to-be-completed PhD, Vikram Seth enrolled at Nanjing University for 2 years. During this period, he wrote some of his first mature poetry. By the time he returned to Stanford, he had developed serious ambitions as a poet, encouraged by the poets Donald Davy and Timothy Steele, who have in common an affection for the poetic forms of the past. At this point, Vikram Seth discovered the verse translation of Pushkin's Eugene Onegin by Charles Johnston, the greatest modern translator of Russian verse, and in a fit of what must have seemed to many madness, decided to write a verse novel. The result is The Golden Gate, a novel of nearly 600 sonnets in iambic tetrameter. One of the poems records the experience of meeting a publisher on the occasion of his award of the Thomas Cook Prize for travel writing. I choose these lines in part because Thomas Cook was a Leicester man who lived a few hundred yards from here. an editor at a plush party, well-wined, provisioned, speechy, hearty, hosted by Long Live Thomas Cook, where my Tibetan travel book was honoured, seized my arm. Dear fellow, what's your next work? A novel. Great. We hope that you, dear Mr. Seth, in verse, I added. He turned yellow. How marvelously quaint, he said, and subsequently cut me dead. The publisher was wrong. The novel has sold more than 100,000 copies. Vikram Seth's first prose novel, A Suitable Boy, was published in 1993. It is set in India in the 1950s, in the years following independence and partition. Again, the form of the novel echoes earlier traditions, this time that of the encyclopedic novel of Tolstoy and the family chronicles of 19th century France. I make it sound formidably literary, and so it is, but it is also the most readable of the great post-independence Indian novels. The central value embedded in the novel, that of religious and communal tolerance, is faithful to the 21st century ideals of Vikram Seth. These are not the values of India in 1993, when ancient animosities were being revived, but they are faithful to the ideals of Nehru, India's post-independence Prime Minister. Vikram Seth is a man who never goes over the same ground twice. In 1999, he made yet another new beginning in An Equal Music, a love story set geographically in England and Italy and set emotionally in the experience of making and listening to music. To this huge range within the novel, one might add much else. A travel book that describes a journey through Tibet, China, and Nepal, the libretto of Arion and the Dolphin, which was performed at the Indian National Opera, a children's book called Beastly Tales from Here and There, 6 collections of fine poetry, and most recently, in 2005, a memoir of the marriage of his great-uncle and aunt. No other living writer in English has achieved so much in so many literary forms. Mr. Chancellor, on the recommendation of the Senate and the Council, I present to you Vikram Seth, that you may confer upon him the honorary degree of Doctor of Letters.
I admit you the degree of Doctor of Letters. We welcome you among us. Congratulations. Thank you. There's a small token of our appreciation.
Thank you very much, Orator, for your generous and thoughtful words. Thank you, Chancellor, Vice-Chancellor, and other honoured guests. And thank you also, whoever put this platform under my feet, since otherwise most of you wouldn't have been able to see me. I scribbled together a few notes in the tiring or the robing room, but unfortunately my writing is a bit illegible. It says, and it is true, it is a great honour and a great pleasure to get this degree of Doctor of Letters from the University of Leicester. I tried for a long time to gain a doctorate through directed, or you might say legitimate, effort. At Stanford University, I was a graduate student in the Department of Economics, and it took me 11 years not to get my PhD. But that's where, as the orator said, I wrote my first novel. It was a bit of a distraction, but luckily my dissertation advisor was both too busy and too tolerant to stop me from writing it. When I finished it, I went back home to India to write a novel set in India. But I felt that my parents were still somewhat disappointed in me and that I hadn't got those magic letters in front of my name. And they will be even more pleased than me that I've now got it, though, as my mother would say, by not illegitimate, but extra-legitimate means. The other person who will be very happy is my brother Shantam, who is 5 years younger than I am. Between the years of 75 and 77, he studied here in Leicester at the Southfields College of Further Education. He did a course in footwear technology, as my father, many years earlier, but in Northampton, had done before him. He lived in Highfields, a place I visited this morning, and he was often stopped and searched. Later, he worked at a firm called Etoffs in Colville. He did rather well in his course and got a medal from the City and Guilds. I visited him here once. It was in many ways quite a troubled time. I remember going to a pub with him and a sort of incident that happened there. And he told me about various things that had happened to him over the course of his years here. But strangely enough, it made him rather more determined than angry. I know from talking to people today that the situation in the city has very greatly changed, and that Leicester is now held up as something of a model for what you would call humane logic, or what the orator mentioned, the coexistence of people of different colors, faiths, and so on. I know we live again in difficult times, and I most ardently hope that what has happened over these many years here in this wonderful city continues to hold. Thank you very much.
The graduands in the Faculty of Arts will be presented by the Dean, Professor Shattuck. Will all graduands in the faculty please stand?
Mr. Chancellor, I ask you to admit these candidates from the Faculty of Arts to the several degrees for which they are presented.
Graduates of the Faculty of Arts, by the authority of the Senate, I admit you to the several degrees which you are presented.
For the degree of Doctor of Philosophy, Jodie Humphrey. Wendy Raybould. For the degree of Master of Arts in Archaeology and Heritage, Barbara Hartley. Patrick McGuinness. Malcolm Ratcliffe. Gregory Savoy. Suzanne Stone. For the degree of Master of Arts in History, Tessa Clark. Manushka Helowin. Helen Henwood. Catherine Hunter. David Hurt. Emma Johnson. Daniel Kendall. Diz Majore. Susan O'Brien. Joanna Payne. Sarah Quimby. Gemma Sargent. For the degree of Bachelor of Arts in American Studies, William Boddy. Laura Bramich. Emily Butcher. Emma Dexter. Claire Driffield. Christopher Elsgood. Felicity Grieve. Kindra Hintner. Joy Laffey. Laura Morgan. Victoria Narberg. Neil Ricketson. Urvashi Sharma. Julia Walsham. Beth Wood. For the degree of Bachelor of Arts in American Studies with a year in the USA, Andrew Barrett. Ian Bates. Louise Burt. Gemma Cook. Edward Danson. Katie DeWay. Rebecca Dillon. Lauren Dryden. Lauren Gilbert. Sarah Haskins. Jack Hollingdale. Lloyd Hughes. Philip Hilton. Lucy Jefferson. Anna Kirkham. Philip Milton. Felicity Page. Hannah Pierce. Winner of the American Studies Dissertation Prize, Rebecca Priddle. Matthew Shelton. Catherine Unwin. Winner of the American Studies Dissertation Prize and the American Studies Prize, Faye Whitmarsh.
Can you feel right with your hand?
For the degree of Bachelor of Arts in Ancient History and Archaeology, Elizabeth Balliol Key. Catherine Bennett. Tavis Booth. Laura Callahan. David Clark. Holly Durand. Ben Fowkes. James Gray. Nicholas Jordan. Rebecca Knowles. David Lilly. David Lockwood. Winner of the Arnold Wickham Gaume Prize, Sally Port. Samuel Shaw. David Sin Chan. Andrew Webber. Max Young. For the degree of Bachelor of Arts in Ancient History and Archaeology, European Union, Carl Allott. Gemma Quinn. For the degree of Bachelor of Arts in Ancient History and History, Amy Braithwaite. Catherine Collins. Lydia Hunt. Alison James. Nicola Reedman. Sarah Simpson. Jane Irwin. For the degree of Bachelor of Arts in Archaeology, Thomas Allmark. Claire Ballard. Ellen Goodger. Elizabeth Grayston. Victoria Guest. Sarah Hale. Eleanor Hannon. Emily Hill. Robert Hirsch. Richard Huxley. Philip Johns. Meredith Lee. John Macken. Joel Martin. Andrew Nelms. Aaron O'Sullivan. Joanna Ramsey. Diane Randall. Andrew Robinson. Jenna Stevens. Winner of the Faculty Prize, Andrew Tullett. Winner of the Samuel and Rachel May Prize in Archaeology, David Underhill Stocks. Michelle Viteri Allison. Peter Winstanley. Katie Woodman. For the degree of Bachelor of Arts in Archaeology, European Union, Eleanor Twomlow. For the degree of Bachelor of Arts in Archaeology International, Harriet Edwards. For the degree of Bachelor of Arts in Film Studies and Visual Arts, Sarah Allen. Martin Blake. Winner of the Peter Baxter Prize, Matthew Brown. Elizabeth Brunner. Danielle Carey. Michelle Chambers. Naomi Coley. Paul Critchley. Benjamin Gellier. Jennifer James. Alexia Lawson. Adam McNichol. Richard Milburn. Catherine Siegrist. For the degree of Bachelor of Arts in History, Sami Al-Bakri. Jeffrey Allen. Richard Allain. Catherine Asher. Ellen Banfield. Jane Barnes. Christopher Baum. Martin Boonham. James Boyd Russell. Samantha Bray. Matthew Bull. Elizabeth Caldecott. Kate Carr. Emma Chester. Rachel Chopin. Darren Clark. Kate Cook. Matthew Cooper. Michelle Daniels. Gareth Dennison. Richard Dorman. Stuart Edwards. Daniel Evans. Amy Faulkner. Alexandra Fenwick. Ozen Fitton Brown. Laura Franklin. Rebecca Godfrey. Rebecca Green. Duncan Grimes. Sarah Gristwood. Cheryl Henson. Anthony Hind. Tom Hoffman. Matthew Holman. Joanne Hornby. Kevin Hoyle. Robert Hughes. Shelley Jevons. Benjamin Johnson. Timothy Lane. Helen Langford. Christine Lester. Richard Lewis. Andrew Lonergan. William Luckhurst. Winner of the Professor W.H. Brock Prize and the Professor J. Simmons Prize, Victoria Mannering.
Congratulations. Well done, all your prizes.
Jonathan Manton.
Congratulations.
Christopher Marshall.
Congratulations.
David Mabry.
Congratulations.
Benjamin Mayer.
Congratulations.
Jasmine Mendes.
Congratulations.
Catherine Mercer.
Congratulations.
Winner of the Dr. D.T. Williams Memorial Prize, Heather Merrick.
Congratulations. Well done.
Yusuf Mills.
Congratulations.
Stephen Nero.
Congratulations.
James Nugent.
Congratulations.
Andrew Oldham.
Congratulations.
Sarah Parker.
Congratulations.
Sarah Pascoe.
Congratulations.
Peter Paskin.
Congratulations.
Angharad Paul.
Congratulations. Well done.
Andrew Pinnell.
Congratulations.
Chris Pruer.
Congratulations. Well done.
Jamila Rashid.
Congratulations. Well done.
Christina Ratcliffe.
Congratulations.
Elizabeth Rainey.
Congratulations.
Melanie Reese.
Congratulations.
Winner of the F&M Kessner Prize, the J.H. Plum Prize, and the West End Memorial Prize, Philip Repper.
So when you can do all your prize money. Congratulations.
Stuart Rideout.
Congratulations.
Gemma Roberts.
Congratulations.
Thomas Roberts.
Congratulations.
Sophie Rowbury.
Congratulations.
Thomas Rowley.
Congratulations.
Cheryl Roos.
Congratulations.
Michael Salvage.
Congratulations.
Chris Sedgwick.
Congratulations.
Tony Smith.
Congratulations.
Winner of the F&M Kessner Prize and the J.H. Plum Prize, Joanna Sutton.
Well done, all your prize.
Naoki Thompson.
Congratulations.
Winner of the Professor W.H. Brock Prize, Kelly Thompson.
Congratulations. Well done.
Laura Tyler.
Congratulations.
David Vincent.
Congratulations.
Daniel Webster.
Congratulations.
Oliver Whitmarsh.
Congratulations.
Andrew Williams.
Congratulations.
Suzanne Williams.
Congratulations.
Emma Wilson.
Congratulations.
James Woolerton.
Congratulations.
Peter Wright.
Congratulations.
For the degree of Bachelor of Arts in History, European Union, Jonathan Covey. For the degree of Bachelor of Arts in History and Archaeology, Jonathan Barker.
Congratulations.
Suzanne Cornwell, Satnam DeHaley, Marius Goriel, Philippa Spike, Oliver Taylor, Amy Waring, Nigel Williams. For the degree of Bachelor of Arts in History and Archaeology, European Union, Miranda Hay. For the degree of Bachelor of Arts in History and Politics, Jamie Abbott. Matthew Atkins. Nicholas Benton. Claire Boyce-Layton. Jade Bradley. Philip Brown. Christopher Channell. Jonathan Collins. John Duffield. Botima Dafour. Nicholas Edwards. Andrew Gouldson.
I'm trying to see what you've got yourself there. Too much hard work.
Sarah Haley. George Hollingdale. Charlotte Hughes. Robert Hunt. Holly James. Alexander Jones. Alexander Kinch. James McNamara. Peter Martin. Giulietta Mericido. Jenny Mitchell. Valerie Moran. Peter Norris. Samuel Omosusi. David Pake. Peter Phillips. Kate Poxton. Matthew Rodriguez. Caroline Unwin. Ian Vickery. David Waterman. Charles Watson. Brendan Whitfield. Jennifer Williams. For the degree of Bachelor of Arts in History of Art, Gemma Bamford. James Bolton. Joseph Green. Louise Hewitt. Paulette McHugh. Lauren Mead. Nicola Paul. Graham Roberts. Edward Stilliard. Helen Stocks. Camilla Tucker. David Whittle. For the degree of Bachelor of Arts in History of Art, European Union, Tanya Fifield. Winner of the Luke Herman Prize, Miriam Grice.
Well done.
Daniel Nielsen. Mr. Chancellor, I ask you to admit to the several degrees for which they are presented by my faculty those candidates who are absent.
By the authority of the Senate, I admit those candidates who are absent to the several degrees which they are presented.
Donald Sinden is the son of a chemist, dispensing, not industrial, and was brought up in Sussex. His education was interrupted by serious illness, and at the age of 15, he left school and became an apprentice joiner, hoping to become a draftsman. He then had little interest in the theatre. Fate, however, intervened in the form of a cousin who persuaded Sinden to take his place in an amateur production in Brighton. Donald took to acting and was spotted by a director of the Theatre Royal Brighton, who ran a wartime touring company. For the duration of the war, Donald Sinden worked as an apprentice joiner by day and performed for the armed forces by night. He spent the last year of the war with the Entertainment's National Service Association, ENSA, usually known as Every Night Something Awful, touring liberated Europe and India. On his return to England, Donald Sinden worked a 6-month season in Leicester, performing a different play every week with only Sundays off. Each Sunday he would come to this hall for concerts, sitting in the 1-shilling stage seats, about where the organist is now. He has described a splendid technique to persuade performers to give an encore, but you will have to read his autobiography, A Touch of the Memoirs, to discover what it is. After Leicester, he spent 2 years with the Shakespeare Memorial Company, now the Royal Shakespeare Company, at Stratford, and later acted with the Bristol Old Vic Company, acquiring experience of a wide variety of plays. Donald Sinden was contracted to the rank organisation for most of the 1950s and appeared in many British films during that time. His film career took off when he was cast as Lieutenant Lockhart, first lieutenant of the corvette Compass Rose, in Ealing Film's superb version of The Cruel Sea in 1953. This was probably his finest film role. One critic thought that the role was a major plum for such a young actor, although the 30-year-old Donald Sinden was actually much older than most of the corvette lieutenants would have been. As an aside, I'd say Compass Rose was a fictional flower-class corvette serving in the North Atlantic. One actual ship of this class was noted for having a crew that were involved in far more fights ashore than any other. This was possibly because their cap bands were inscribed HMS Pansy. Donald Sinden returned to the Royal Shakespeare Company in 1963 and remained with them for the next 20 years. His performances in 1963 and 1964 as the Duke of York in Peter Hall's production of The Wars of the Roses showed him to be an outstanding classical actor, marked out by his musical verse-speaking and deeply resonant characterization. Other successes soon followed. In 1969, he played Malvolio in Twelfth Night, a role that gave special scope to his skill for character-driven comedy. Professor Stanley Wells has described his performance as that of a comic genius. The second volume of Sinden's autobiography, Laughter in the Second Act, describes how he based the look of his Malvolio on Graham Sutherland's portrait of Somerset Maugham. Not a pretty sight. His performance in King Lear in 1976-1977 was reckoned as amongst the finest of his generation. It won him the Variety Club's Stage Actor Award for 1976 and the Evening Standard Best Actor Award in 1977. Perhaps uniquely, this great Shakespearean has also shone in farce. To succeed in King Lear and in Move Over Darling in the same year implies a remarkable versatility. In 1990, Donald Sinden presented a one-man show as Oscar Wilde. He himself is believed to be the last surviving person to have met and befriended Lord Alfred Douglas, the catalyst of Wilde's imprisonment, who lived in Sussex towards the end of his life. Donald Sinden's reading of the Ballad of Reading Gaol was issued in 2002 on a CD produced and directed by his son Mark. He has always had a keen interest in theatre history. This resulted in the creation of the British Theatre Museum Association, of which he was chairman between 1971 and 1977. This became the Theatre Museum and is now part of the Victoria and Albert Museum. He is also vice president of the Henry Irving Society and was extremely supportive of the conference on Irving that was held at this university last weekend. Donald Sinden received the CBE in 1979 and was appointed to the Arts Council in 1982. Those of you with very long memories may remember his regular proxy appearance in the satirical puppet show Spitting Image, as an ageing actor always pestering the Queen for a knighthood. The knighthood was conferred without pestering in 1997. Today, we are proud to honour Sir Donald Sinden, and I hope we did not charge him a shilling for his seat on this stage today. Mr. Chancellor, on the recommendation of the Senate and Council, I present Sir Donald Sinden that you may confer on him the Honorary Degree of Doctor of Letters.
I give you the degree of Doctor of Letters. We welcome you among us. I congratulate you. May I have a present for you.
Thank you so much. I say, that's better, isn't it? Chancellor, Vice-Chancellor, and Professor German, thank you for those very kind words. Would you please send them to the Times? They can do for my obituary. Actually, it's a very strange job being an actor, you know. In the last 3 weeks, I've been asked to address the Alcoholics Anonymous, the Ex-Prisoners Association, and a gay lib demonstration. And this afternoon, I'm rather worried. I'm wondering how many of those present are listening to me for the 4th time. You never know, do you? Actually, I have a long association with Leicester. As Professor German said, I was in the repertory company at the old Theatre Royal for just under a year, and I had the opportunity of appearing in 47 plays in that 1 year, which is quite an experience, really. And more recently, I've been the chairman of the Leicester Association for Music and the Arts. I've been the chairman for 15 years. For those of you who don't know, we raise money to distribute to schools throughout Leicestershire who are in need of a stage, lighting, instruments for the orchestra. So there might be a collection on your way out. I am indeed honored to receive this degree. It's quite extraordinary because I left school when I was 15, and I've been sweating away as an actor for the last 63 years. So may I say there's hope for you all. Stick at it for 63 years and you might get one of these. You know. For this occasion, not only am I thrilled at getting it from this university, but especially from Leicester, because any university that has Professor Richard Fuchs as head of the English department deserves my grateful thanks. I mean, how lucky you all are. I'm only allowed 30 minutes, but just for the Chancellor's benefit, I need to tell you that quite recently I was in Canada and I was taken around a Native American reservation, and the chief was telling me how difficult it was to provide a succession to the chieftainship. He said, when I married my first squaw, I went out, I killed a lion. I skinned the lion, and from the hide I made a bed. I put my squaw on the bed. Result, one son. So when I married my second squaw, this time I went out, I killed a buffalo. I skinned the buffalo, and from the hide I made a bed. I put my squaw on the bed. Result, one son. So when I married my third squaw, this time I killed a hippopotamus. I skinned the hippopotamus, and from the hide I made a bed. I put my squaw on the bed. Result, two sons. Which proves, he said, that the squaw on the hippopotamus is equal to the sum of the squaws on the other two hides. I do apologize, that just shows you my level of my sense of humor. But may I congratulate all of you who've worked away for years to get your degree, and I, lucky bounder that I am, I've got one for nothing. And thank you very, very much indeed to the Senate, and indeed, goodbye and thank you so much.
The graduands in the Faculty of the Social Sciences will be presented by the Dean, Professor Jackson. Will all graduands in the faculty please stand?
Mr. Vice-Chancellor, I ask you to admit these candidates from the Faculty of the Social Sciences to the several degrees for which they are presented.
Graduands of the Faculty of the Social Sciences, by the authority of the Senate, I admit you to the several degrees for which you are presented.
For the degree of Doctor of Philosophy, Thomas Beardsley.
I admit you to the degree of Doctor of Philosophy. Congratulations. Well done.
Stephen Charles Brearley.
I admit you to the degree of Doctor of Philosophy. Congratulations.
Rosemary Crossan.
I admit you to the degree of Doctor of Philosophy. Congratulations. Thank you.
Vernon Davies.
Teaching degree in Doctor of Philosophy. Congratulations.
Brendan Harvey.
And teaching degree in Doctor of Philosophy. Congratulations.
Ian Hunt.
And teaching degree in Doctor of Philosophy. Congratulations. Thank you.
For the degree of Master of Arts in Diplomatic Studies, Kevin Mururi.
Congratulations. Well done.
For the degree of Master of Arts in English Local History, Kate Cooper.
Congratulations. Thank you.
Sarah Gilpin.
Congratulations. Well done.
Christopher Matthews.
Congratulations.
Patricia Roll.
Congratulations.
Erica Statham.
Congratulations.
Patricia Taylor.
Congratulations.
For the degree of Master of Arts in International Economic History, Cherry Davis.
Congratulations. Well done.
For the degree of Master of Arts in International Relations and World Order, Irene Harbis.
Congratulations. Well done.
For the degree of Bachelor of Arts in Contemporary History, David Chanel.
Congratulations.
Robin Cuthell.
Congratulations.
Catherine Davies.
Congratulations.
Katie Franks.
Congratulations. Well done.
David Furs.
Congratulations.
Michelle Lake.
Congratulations.
Paul Lowe.
Congratulations. Thank you.
Samuel Newton.
Congratulations.
Gurjit Rajania.
Congratulations.
Timothy Short.
Congratulations.
Stephanie Simpsons.
Congratulations. Well done.
Christopher Slack.
Congratulations.
Matthew Thompson.
Congratulations.
Julia Tompkins.
Congratulations.
For the degree of Bachelor of Arts in Economic and Social History, Ryan Archer.
Congratulations.
Paul Beedling.
Congratulations. Well done.
Michael Bonici.
Congratulations.
Dean Britton.
Congratulations.
Andrew Brown.
Congratulations, Andrew. Well done.
Christopher Butcher.
Congratulations.
Gavin Cox.
Congratulations.
Gemma Freeman.
Congratulations.
Maria Harvey.
Congratulations.
Christopher Hind.
Congratulations.
Gemma Humphrey.
Congratulations.
Coralie Mansell.
Congratulations.
Kyle Norris.
Congratulations.
Winner of the Ralph Davis Prize, Timothy Seeley.
Congratulations and well done on your prize.
Winner of the H.J. Dias Prize, Georgia Smith.
Congratulations and well done on your prize.
Ruth Tracy.
Congratulations.
Richard Trigg.
Congratulations.
Robert Wincott.
Congratulations.
Catherine Young.
Congratulations.
For the degree of Bachelor of Arts in Geography, Kirsty Anderson.
Congratulations.
Rebecca Boness.
Congratulations.
Rebecca Bradford.
Congratulations.
Michael De Silva.
Congratulations.
Antoni Dmochowski.
Congratulations.
Winner of the William Kirk Prize, Jonathan Evans.
Congratulations and well done on your prize.
Juliet Fielder.
Congratulations.
Helen Godley.
Congratulations.
Winner of the Michael Reed Memorial Prize, the John H. Patterson Prize, the William Kirk Prize, and the Norman Pye Prize, Sophie Hadfield Hill.
Congratulations. Well done.
Mark Hall.
Congratulations.
Ben Harvey.
Congratulations.
Ben Hilton.
Congratulations.
Thomas Hubman.
Congratulations.
Sarah Jinks.
Congratulations.
Paul Jones.
Congratulations.
Christopher Langthorne.
Congratulations.
Nicholas Linfield.
Congratulations.
Michael Macaraya.
Congratulations.
Shona Matthews.
Congratulations.
Nicole McCaffrey.
Congratulations.
Rebecca Miles.
Congratulations.
Oliver Mitchell.
Congratulations.
Simon Moody.
Congratulations.
Benjamin Organ.
Congratulations.
Rakhi Patel.
Congratulations.
Timothy Pike.
Congratulations.
David Sherritt.
Congratulations.
Anne-Marie Shields.
Congratulations.
Ben Silk.
Congratulations.
Mark Tomlin.
Congratulations.
Barry Valentine.
Congratulations.
Craig Waywee.
Congratulations.
Zoe Wilson.
Congratulations. Thank you.
Robert Wilson Town.
Congratulations.
For the degree of Bachelor of Arts in Human Geography, Matthew Basiarak.
Congratulations. Thank you.
Christopher Birtles.
Congratulations.
Alexander Broad.
Congratulations.
Penelope Cornish.
Congratulations.
Lucy Davis.
Congratulations.
Heather Jordan.
Congratulations.
Sophie Knight.
Congratulations.
Charlotte Mace.
Congratulations.
Harpreet Mander.
Congratulations.
Karen O'Connor.
Congratulations. Well done.
Catherine Pickering.
Congratulations.
Edward Prothero.
Congratulations.
Mary Riley.
Congratulations.
For the degree of Bachelor of Arts in Geography and Economic and Social History, Oliver Jones.
Congratulations.
Amy Pow.
Congratulations.
Glenn Winston.
Congratulations.
Oliver Whitaker.
Congratulations.
Laura Wright.
Congratulations.
For the degree of Bachelor of Arts in Politics, David Bevan.
Congratulations.
Sean Bynon.
Congratulations.
Rachel Bishop.
Congratulations.
Heather Brown.
Congratulations. Thank you.
Harry Chambers.
Congratulations.
Jeremy Craggs.
Congratulations.
James Curtis.
Congratulations.
Alex Exley,
Congratulations.
Rebecca Fanaran,
Congratulations. Thank you.
Matthew Galvin,
Congratulations.
Saul Gonzalez Hernandez,
Congratulations.
Rosie Groves,
Congratulations.
Nicola Hunt,
Congratulations.
Sarah Hyde,
Congratulations.
Sheila Jackhugh,
Congratulations.
Adam Johnson,
Congratulations.
Amit Khalsi,
Congratulations.
winner of the Morris Hookham Prize, Mazhar Karim,
Congratulations. Well done on your prize.
Lisa Keeley,
Congratulations.
Stuart Kellman,
Congratulations.
Aaron Kumar,
Congratulations.
Kipros Kipru,
Congratulations.
Sarah Lawson,
Congratulations.
Jessica Letters,
Congratulations.
Joseph Martin,
Congratulations.
John McCoy,
Congratulations.
Sumiya Mullah,
Congratulations.
Matthew Offield,
Congratulations.
Amar Patel,
Congratulations.
Samuel Perry,
Congratulations. Thank you.
Edward Shriver,
Congratulations.
Ian Scott,
Congratulations.
Amit Sharma,
Congratulations.
Michelle Smith,
Congratulations. Well done.
Robbie Somerville,
Congratulations.
Helena Spicer,
Congratulations.
Aaron Sutcliffe,
Congratulations.
James Tanner,
Congratulations.
Matthew Thompson,
Congratulations.
Enrico Torino,
Congratulations.
Lucy Wells,
Congratulations.
for the degree of Bachelor of Arts in Politics and Economic and Social History, Elizabeth Astington,
Congratulations.
Amanda Blackmore,
Congratulations.
Priya Chanda,
Congratulations.
winner of the R.L. Borthwick Prize and the Morris Hookham Prize, Josephine Dakar,
Congratulations and well done on your prizes.
Zahira Huji,
Congratulations, well done.
Richard Hughes,
Congratulations.
Nicola Lamb,
Congratulations.
Hannah Perkins,
Congratulations. Thank you.
Carol Withers,
Congratulations, well done.
Mr. Vice-Chancellor, I ask you to admit to the several degrees for which they are presented by my faculty those candidates who are absent.
By the authority of the Senate, I admit those candidates who are absent to the several degrees for which they are presented.
As you will have noticed, the Vice-Chancellor and I share the duties on an occasion like this. He makes the long first speech when you're fresh, and I make the short speech at the end when you're tired. And to make matters worse, I have to follow two distinguished figures, experts of the spoken and written word. It's a tough act to follow. But let me begin by congratulating all those who graduated here today. Both are two honorary graduates who remind us of the achievements to which we can aspire, and those who have earned their degrees by passing examinations and writing theses. This is a great day for all of you and for your supporters, families, friends and teachers, and some surprise for some. The graduation ceremony, with its pomp and formality, brings the whole university together and reminds us of its main purpose, the passing on of knowledge to a new generation. Many of you travelled far from distant lands to come to Leicester. I too have made it a journey, since I now live in Edinburgh, a city that has been much in the news over the past few weeks, the focus of multiple demonstrations associated with this G8 summit at Gleneagles. As you know, the leaders of the rich nations of the world have acquired a guilty conscience and been persuaded of the novel idea that the rich should help the poor. In particular, Africa has been high on the agenda as a continent that has been lagging behind the rest of the world and suffers constantly from poverty, disease and famine. Although at my age I'm a little old to march in the streets, I very much sympathise with the objectives of those hundreds of thousands of people, including my son, who wanted to register their hope that more should be done to help Africa. No doubt more money will be forthcoming, and that is welcome. But at the end of the day, action has to be implemented by people. Developing countries need to educate and train more of their citizens so that they can cope with the complex demands of the modern world. They need teachers, doctors, engineers, farmers, scientists, and an official civil administration that can raise the standard of living and modernize their society. This is where the universities can contribute. It is our task to turn out in large numbers and in all the variety that the present world requires, the trained personnel who will help to improve the lives of those living in underprivileged societies. Whatever country you're from, or wherever you plan to work, you will, in your own way, be contributing to the welfare of the world's inhabitants. Of course, you will be motivated by many aims, from intellectual ambition to the support of your family. But you should always bear in mind your moral obligation to society as a whole, both within and outside the boundaries of your own country. As someone privileged to have enjoyed the benefits of higher education, you have to shoulder part of the burden of helping those who are less fortunate. Here in Leicester, we now turn out, as you can see, impressive numbers of new graduates from many countries and in a wide variety of disciplines. This is our contribution to the world, and I am personally happy to have presided over the occasion when we celebrate this achievement. I have now been Chancellor of Leicester for 10 years. This is my last set of graduation ceremonies, the last chance I have of addressing such a large audience. I may not be able to compete with Bob Geldof, but I think I have a more impressive gown. In my 10 years, Leicester has matured into a major university. Every year, I hear the latest statistics from the Vice-Chancellor telling us how student numbers have grown, how we have more postgraduates than any other university in the country, and how research is flourishing in our departments. Right now, a vast new building program is underway that will provide the appropriate infrastructure for these increasing numbers. I congratulate the Vice-Chancellor and all his colleagues in the university for these achievements. I can retire happy in the knowledge that the university is thriving and has a great future before it. I have enjoyed my association with Leicester. The image that will stay most firmly in my mind is that of a multinational, multicultural university with a wide range of students from all parts of the world and of all ages. A university fit for the future. Farewell. I now declare this congregation closed.